morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene. And today Saul has a topic called, I'm trying to read it upside down, sorry. What kind of player are you?
Yeah, I found this topic on Reddit, and though I don't usually like Reddit topics because they get a little strange, this one was pretty interesting because it says, what kind of player are you? And it gave you 4 different options of which one to pick. It's kind of like a poll. Oh, I mean, not kind of. It was a poll. And I just thought that was an interesting idea and how it could be useful. The person listed 4 different categories as a player.
So it was literally, what kind of player are you? And pick one of these?
Yes.
Okay.
And even the poster said, everybody's a bit of everything, really. But which one are you most like? And that's...
Did you decide on which one you were most like?
As always, it depends. So experiencing, right? This is a player that wants to see what the GM brings to the table, is excited about encountering things that set off their imagination. I think exploring, they want to explore the world. They want to know what the world is like and experience the world or the setting that the GM has created.
So when they're an experiencing player, it's more about what they're going to encounter, and they just want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't care whether it's good, bad, or ugly. They just want the experience.
Right. They want to see what the GM comes up with. They're really interested in that, in the imagination and discovering. That's a key word. Discovering what's going on. So that's pretty neat.
I don't know if I'm that kind of player.
Okay, so there we go. The next one is problem solving.
Would that be a mystery game?
Yeah,
or just
people. Yes, a mystery game, solving puzzles.
So far, I can think of people that are both experiencing players and problem solvers.
And people who like using their wits to solve problems or to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
This would probably be people who are really into mysteries, I guess, because mysteries are trying to figure things out.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a mystery. It could also be, how do you get across that ravine?
Right, and it also includes mini maximizers because empowering. Problem solving is like character builds that are most useful and have the most impact.
Do we have a tank to send over there? Is that what you're talking about?
The rules, using the rules to your favor. That's like, kind of a rules lawyer, but not necessarily.
That's a problem solver.
Yes, not in the worst, not in the negative connotation of a rules lawyer. Like somebody who like knows the rules and like uses those rules to their advantage
for good.
little comedy there. Yes, I guess I'm talking with my hands and I smacked myself with my windshield, breath shield, whatever you want to call it. They like the challenge of whatever the GM's putting forward.
They look at it as a problem to solve.
Yes.
Like all the men that I know in my life. You can't just tell men this is what I'm thinking, because you got to be careful, because then they're going to want to fix it for you. Problem solve it.
The men.
I say that because I really don't know that many women.
That's sadly true. Next is empowering.
An empowering player?
They like the idea of fantasy or science fiction because they like the idea of experiencing things that they can't obviously do themselves.
They want to play a superhero.
An assassin that kills everything in sight, John Wick style, whatever. Superhero, a dinosaur, whatever you want. The idea of playing something that basically you can't experience in real life,
Okay, I'm gonna say dinosaur. I don't think you play dinosaurs. Maybe you encountered dinosaurs.
I don't know. That just kind of fell out of my mouth. But
so empowering, doing things that you wouldn't normally be able to do,
or that you absolutely can't do in real life, like going out into space and being a Jedi and stuff like that. It's not possible to be a Jedi or to.
I think there's some people that would differ with you on that one.
They just like the fantastic of things, right? And being experienced it that way.
I think one of the things that falls into this category, if you like to play a magic user, right?
Definitely, unless you can throw
Fireballs
from the fingertips. Or lightning.
Some scientists might be able to do that.
I guess you could probably wear a suit and then generate some sort of plasma ball, but I think we're still pretty far away.
So that's pretty empowering.
It would be, yeah. So yeah, that kind of thing.
Don't ever give me one of those suits, by the way.
It's like Iron Man, right? So the next one there's only 4 categories, and the other one is socializing. The whole reason you get together is so you can see your friends, hang out, drink, eat, maybe talk about stuff not about the game. Basically, it's just the experience, sharing the experience of the people. Even in game, maybe they're not totally just like, hey, what happened last Saturday night. No, you're playing the game, but you're just sharing. You just like being there with your friends.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say all gamers experience this one.
Yeah, but that's not the sole reason you play. Sometimes, some people. Anyway, and this is like you like helping people out in the game. You are like sharing, you like putting the group move forward or whatever their endeavors are. The people are the most important thing to them.
See, that's where I'm telling you that's most gamers want to.
I think so.
Experience that, right? To go
the socialization, especially after COVID. The original poster said that most gamers are a little bit of everything of this, right? There's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But he was asking, or she, I don't know, they were asking, what do you consider yourself and most important to you? What kind of player do you think you really are? And I think that's an interesting, valid question. I think there is all kinds of things that matter, or would not matter, but influence what kind of player you are, depending on all kinds of different factors, right?
Yes.
Like one of them is the.
Sorry, you took the list away from me, so I can't. It's hard to.
Yes. So one of them depends on the game, right? Certain games just elicit a certain type of play style.
Okay.
Like there's a difference between, let's say, Dungeons and Dragons and Feng Shui. Feng Shui is all about the action. It's all about the doing things that are totally not possible in the real world. The more fantastical in the real world you can get, the better it is. The more fun the game can be, because you are pushing the envelope and you're being really imaginative about things that could happen if only things were a little bit.
If only you were in a Hong Kong action movie.
Exactly, right. So to me, in that sense, I would probably be, well, for the most part, it'd be like empowering, right? Doing things that normally you wouldn't be able to do and stuff like that. But, even in Feng Shui, you could just be in there for the experience of seeing what imaginative worlds or situations the GM can put you in. So though the game does depend on a lot of my play style or what I like to experience in a certain game. Like the difference between, let's say, D&D is a terrible example, actually. More like the One Ring. The One Ring is a different experience than Feng Shui.
I think that Aliens is also a different experience than Feng Shui. Yes.
Yeah.
So genre games.
I have no idea. I have no idea where I would put myself, like about the Alien game.
Is there a category of screaming into the night? I don't know.
I think that'd be experiencing.
Maybe problem solving. No. There's no. You can solve the problem, but you're still going to get killed. So experiencing.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times.
So the game would definitely have an impact on what I want to experience out of the game, and for that matter, that would make it what kind of player I would like to be in that situation.
So what you're saying is the type of player you are is game dependent,
is influenced, because you could still like the experience or the empowering in Alien, even though it's the exact opposite, right?
It's right? More just experiencing. Experiencing how you're going to die this time.
But some people...
But it could be problem solving.
Yeah, or it could be empowering, like, trying to survive amongst terrible odds.
I think it could be problem solving, trying to make sure that the company man dies and none of the aliens are taken off wherever you are. That's just my personal opinion.
As you can tell, Jolene had a very traumatic experience playing Alien. And it was Bay, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, Bay was a great role player, but he did terrible things.
He had the AI do terrible things. Or not AI. Was it an AI or a robot?
Artificial person.
Yes. Whereas Feng Shui, I do agree, it's very empowering. Any games like that, like even like I've never really played the superhero games, but Champions and where you're actually playing a superhero.
A superhero.
That could be very empowering.
I think for the most part, that's more empowering than, let's say, I mean, just off the bat,
it's more empowering than like if you're playing a solve the mystery game. What do they call it? Gumshoe or
instead of problem solving.
That's more very problem solving.
But, I mean,
superheroes you could have to solve problems.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, in every adventure, there's a problem that needs to be solved, but maybe that solving could be done by a punch to the gut instead of figuring out what this clue means.
Send in the tank.
So that's game dependent, I think, a little bit. It also depends on how you feel, right? Sometimes you just want to smash things, Hulk smash, and that would make it whatever kind. I mean, I don't know, experiencing, empowering. I mean, it could be either one of those two.
It just make you feel good.
Yeah, you just want to like wreck things, right? Like there was this person I knew. It doesn't matter, but he was very into role playing, right? And so he sits down at a game, and the guy who runs the game, it doesn't matter, but he sat down next to run it. You know, he knew the GM and he knew what kind of game he ran, so it was very role play intensive or heavy. So he sits down, and then some kid sits down next to him, and they're like introducing what characters they got, and then the person goes, I just want to blow stuff up. He didn't say stuff, right? And then the guy, my friend, looked at him and goes, ugh, right? Because that's all he wanted to do. And instead of role playing, he just wanted to blow things up. I mean, that's what he wanted to do, and that's what he did. Like every chance he got, he tried to blow things up. That's how he solved the problems, and
that works. It's probably not the best negotiating skill that you could have, but it works sometimes.
Gil is the person that had that problem. So obviously, it depends on how you feel. Like one guy, he just wanted to blow stuff up, and then my friend Gil wanted a role playing experience. So a lot depends on how you feel and
how all the other players in the room feel, right?
Well, right. You got to feel get the feel for the room, right? Exactly. And another thing is depends on the GM. Some GMs, are known for their role playing. Some are known for their fantastic or high adrenaline type games. Right. For example, there was this. I was listening to another podcast called Fear the Boot, and they have a Fear the Boot con, right? And this one guy was known for like standing up on his chair and yelling or talking very loudly at his table, getting them all worked up and enthusiastic about what's going on. And it's this exciting, very quick, happening events going on at the same time,
right.
Real quick. And so that is a different type of GM than somebody who's trying to evoke a dark mood, and you have the
obviously a different kind of game, right?
Well, that's just as also the GM, right? The GM has a different idea of what kind of game he wants to run.
Well, and the players are either going to like it or not.
True. But when a GM is known for a certain kind of game, you're going to go there with a different type of
idea of what's going to happen,
or what kind of how you're going to approach the game as a player.
Your expectations are going to be different.
Expectations, exactly. So another thing I was thinking is this is actually pretty cool idea for or knowledge or information for the GM, right? Because the GM could let's throw this out to the players.
Well, if you think about it, most GMs, unless you're doing a one shot and you've never met anybody, you're gonna after you play with people for a little while, you're gonna know what they like or don't like or stuff. Like when we go and play at our friend Cowie's house.
Oh, yes.
You guys are so excited because Cowie puts out a spread of food that
we don't care about the game.
Is not really a gamer kind of food, right? See, I've been in both situations, and when the first time I went to Cowie's house, I'm like, my goodness, no wonder these guys want to come here. Look at the stuff that she's put out. It's the gourmet deliciousness, right?
Yes,
and
ridiculous.
On top of that, you get to play a game.
Yes.
And so I can see the appeal of that. Whereas also, like, if the socializer might come to the game, and we have games like this where the boys, when we used to go and play at Mill's store at Legends, we would always stop at 7-Eleven and we would get them Slurpees. And for years, even to this, not the last time, they didn't do it when we played Shadowrun the last time, but even last year, before the pandemic, it was always a requirement. They would go to 7-Eleven and get their Slurpees. Before we started playing, they would walk across the street, remember?
Yeah.
And that was like a big socializing thing, because they did it all the time as kids. So when they were older teenagers, they're like, okay, we're ready to game. We got our Slurpee, and what did the boys like? Chex Mix.
Chex Mix, yes.
So,
well, it's funny you say the boys and teenagers. They're 19, so they're in the last year of the teenage.
Well, Ian's not like 22 now,
so they're barely teenagers. So, but yeah, it's very interesting to see that that's what they do, is that they fall into this. This is the experience,
right,
that they want to have.
Well, because as kids, right, that's part of the gaming experience.
I remember the same thing when I used to go game. I used to take my sandwiches and my soda, and no matter where it was, whether at the scout house or somebody else's house. And mainly because my mom says, "Oh, you shouldn't impose on the people there." And they were teenage dudes, so they're not gonna like put out any spread or anything like that. Now Cowie goes like crazy, right? Like she put out like quiche, brie cheese, all kinds of cheeses.
Deliciousness.
She puts cupcakes, or not cupcakes. What do you call them? Muffins, chocolate muffins, and sweet loaves of bread. All kinds of stuff. Last time she had some, what was it?
She had a pumpkin muffin that was yum yum.
Yeah, I didn't try the pumpkin muffin, but the food.
Oh, the frittata.
That's what I never had one before.
Delicious.
Yes, and I was like, wow, and yeah, exactly.
He's had Jolene's version of it, which is not the same.
I don't even remember you making one.
The eggs with the stuff in it.
Oh yeah, but it wasn't like that.
No.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a gourmet person.
But anyway, it was the first time we went out there. Like, even I remember, I think Bay ran the game. Was it Bay? I don't remember who ran the first game, but he was like,
it was you, Bay, Shannon, and Morgan.
Yeah, but who was running the game? The GM, I think it was Bay, or it might have not been Bay running the first game, but he thought it was very strange because he's running the game, right? Everybody got their food or whatever they're going to get, right? And then they would sit down and eat a little bit. And then, like, during the game, as he was playing, somebody would get up and go get some more food, right? And then come back. And then somebody else would get up to get more. And he goes, and he thought it was distracting, right? He goes, I don't know what's going on here. Usually just if people grab their stuff and that's it, and then sit down.
Because they've never had the yumminess.
Yes, it was really good. And then, she has coffee, and she has seltzer water and wine or whatever you want. And I was just like, and then it was funny because he said that, I'm like, yeah, you're right, because people, as a GM, you're trying to get people's attention and keep that attention. And then when somebody gets up and you can understand if they have to go to the bathroom, but when they get up and go get food and come sit down multiple times, it could be distracting. It could mess up your timing as a GM,
But you guys have gotten used to it, and the good food.
Well, it's like, okay, what are you going to do? That's how it works at Cowie's house. You're not going to stay there the whole 6 hours or 4 hours or 3 hours, whatever it is we're playing. You're going to get up multiple times and get something to eat. Sorry. Apologies to the GM, whoever that is. And me, when I was running there.
The GM was the one getting up to go get the food.
I'll go get some. Yeah, I'll hold on a couple minutes. So, like I said, a lot depends on the GM and what their game is as to how
the players are going to
the player approaches the game. So I think this kind of stuff is very important to know for the GM, right? If you could throw this to your players, even if you know them a long time, what do they really like to play? Though I know most people, I think most people would know what their players really like about their games, right? Because if you've been playing with them for a long time. But it's always good to make sure that your assumptions are more or less correct.
I'm sorry, in what way?
Well, I mean, just like if you think like, let's say Todd, I don't know Todd, but let's say Todd, you think he's a problem solver. but he really wants to play.
He really wants to blow things up.
Yes, he wants to play an empowered game, like let's say, for example, a superhero game. He's never talked about superhero games. Never mentioned it. Todd's never mentioned anything about superheroes, but he's really always wanted to play a superhero game. And that's like more an empowering game than, let's say, a problem-solving game where everybody really likes mystery games and stuff in your group. But filling this out goes, and you see that, he wants an empowering. He wants to play a game where he's empowered. I think that's useful information. And also, even if you already know your players, or even better, if you don't know your players, they give you this list, or they give you what they think is important for them as a player. You can insert certain elements that give them that in a game. Like for example, when I ran my Monterey Dresden game, there was moments of problem solving. There was moments of them fighting something really powerful. Then there was the experience of, like, to me, it was like being in Monterey and Cannery Row. I really tried to invoke the whole where you're at and what you're doing, and by having pictures of Cannery Row, having pictures of the locations where the events took place. And these are pictures that I took when I went to Monterey. So they were like, "Oh, you actually took pictures of it." I go, "Yeah, we go there all the time." So that's why I said it there, because it's just really, almost everybody in the Bay Area here has been to Monterey, especially Cannery Row, because it's a tourist place, and they know things. When I say, Dennis Dominguez Park or Lake Elistero, they know what that is. Or I go Bubba Gump's. They know where Bubba Gump's is, and they've been there, probably at least passed by it. And so I don't.
At least our friends.
At least our friends or people in the Bay Area. Because I ran that at the convention. They're like, "Oh yeah, I know where that is," and they're like, "Oh, do you know where it is? You know where it's right next to that statue where Bubba Gump?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, right there. This is where this takes place." And they're like, "Ah," so that gives them, like, not just like my terrible.
It gives them a place, right? That where
better. It gives them
more immersion into the game,
a memory of being there. Where no matter how great I am at description, which I'm not.
That's why you use pictures.
And that's why it's easier for me to elicit this experience for them, because they're like, "Oh yeah, I've been there. I know what it looks like. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about." I'm like, "Yeah,
I know where that parking garage is."
Exactly. Even the parking garage, they know what the parking garage is. It's 3 stories, right? Yeah, that's the one. I'm like, they know exactly what it is. So all that stuff, it's like a, what do you call it? Like a questionnaire. Instead of asking, "What do you want to see in the game?" You just like, "What kind of player do you see yourself at?" And then,
I don't know that handing people a thing and you have to check a box. They might not like that. I mean, because then you're putting yourself into a box, right? You can't be all 4 at once.
Well, I mean, that's what you would say. Look, we're all a little bit of all these things. We all get together because all these things matter to us. But which one do you think is the most important to you, or you think you most likely enjoy? And so if they tell you they want to problem solving when you're playing D&D, where you're just smashing things and taking their stuff, he wants to play a little bit of problem solving, a little bit of mystery and stuff like that, maybe. And so even in D&D, I've done it in a D&D game. I put a little bit of mystery
and Pathfinder
and
the boys loved it when you did it. You weren't sure how they were going to react,
right.
But they were pretty good at solving a murder, asking questions without
that's right,
without bashing people over the head to get the answers.
The little bashing of heads to get the. No, you're right, and I think I just think it could be a useful tool for a GM. That's what I'm saying. To kind of like, it's just a question. I mean, it isn't. It's not very difficult.
Well, and also, just looking at your players, whether you know them or not, as you're playing the game, you can kind of figure out what they like or don't like, right? Like which one is like asking all the questions to try to figure out what the how to solve the problem.
I mean, of course, like if you play in a convention setting, you're not going to be able to do this, because this, for a GM anyway, it's important. I think it would be important to know what kind of game they like, so you can homebrew an adventure for them, and that they would all like, or that would touch on things that they really enjoy. In a convention game, I would think that you would try to, maybe not socializing, but the first 3 you would try to put elements of that stuff in there.
Anyway. So
it would appease the most people. But like I said, if if you're running, like for example, for years and years, all we played was, I guess there was some mysteries every once in a while and stuff. For the most part, we did like hack and slash, right? We killed monsters and took their stuff. But let's say one person really wanted to play a mystery game, a Scooby-Doo mystery or something, and you're like, there hasn't been a game like that. I mean, you could say, you know what, how about a mystery game or a mystery adventure? But a lot of people they don't like having that any kind of conversation that might upset the GM. Well, you don't like my game? Mm-hmm. Right? And I mean, that's not what you're trying to say. You're just like, let's try something different, maybe. I don't know. I think it's a useful tool even on people you know.
Well, I think that the socializing one is probably everybody does that at one point or another. You know that you're going to go play a game. You've had a really bad week, and you're just happy that you're there, and you want to make sure that whatever.
Or like Cowie's, right? Oh, I'm gonna have a nice meal and meet with friends. Most people do that anyway, right? They go out to dinner,
right,
or what a breakfast or whatever, and then they play games afterwards or whatever. So,
well, they get all their snacks and they everybody or their veggies and their Cheetos. Dips and all of their stuff and their whatever kind of soda or bubbly water you drink, and they all get together and they're just happy to be together, right?
Well, especially after the pandemic, when we went on lockdown. I think we told the story. We were like, hey, we'll see you in 4 months. Or we'll see you in a month, 4 weeks. And then 2 years later, right? You're like, God damn. I think we met once last year during the summer when the numbers were really low. And we went to Cowie's house once.
Yes.
And then the freaking numbers spike and we didn't get to go. We haven't gone back until this year. And it was like, man, this sucks.
It's not like you guys didn't play. It was just Zoom wasn't the same for you.
Zoom is not the same, and everybody will tell you that. Though it's pretty cool because you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to get ready. I can play in my pajamas.
Well, you can still talk to your friends and play with them, right?
Right. That was important. Yeah, that's the important part. But and there's all kinds of pluses for Zoom. We talked about that. There's all kinds of reasons why Zoom is really easy to run. Not Zoom, but
or any online.
Online is really easy to get into because you don't need to travel, you don't really need to all be at the same place, right? And you don't have to get dressed. Some people play in their pajamas or whatever you want to call it, and people are really comfortable in their own home, right? You have to feel awkward that you're in somebody else's home.
Okay.
So I think,
but
online games are pretty cool, but there's the big but. But because we are more social creatures and we actually like seeing people's faces, and even GMs talk about body language. Like sometimes you don't know, especially online games, you're looking at people in little squares, and two people start talking at the same time. Oh no, you go. No, you go. You go. Where in a real life game or face to face game, you can kind of tell when somebody's going to say something because they can take this big breath and they're ready to talk. So yeah, I've heard people, GMs talk about how in online games it's very hard to read people's faces or their body language. I guess it would be more important in a game where in face-to-face you can tell if somebody's going to say something or they're not going to say something. They sit back and they're just listening. And so face-to-face games, for me, is the best way to play, but I really appreciate the fact that we can play online. Obviously.
Especially since your people are scattered
all over the place now. So I think this is a very interesting little questionnaire. I think it's also interesting for somebody to ask themselves, well, what do I like about games? What kind of player do I really consider myself? And what do you have anything that of those four, which one do you think is?
I think all players are all of those. I'm
right,
just
I
saying.
Agree. But which one really is the strongest of yours, or not strongest? What do you think? I don't know.
You maybe play so many different role-playing games. Every game is different.
You have to not answer my question. So to me, I think I like empowering, right? Because I like playing characters of stuff that I can't do. A wizard, a super secret spy, a highly trained special forces soldier.
I don't know. Currently, we're playing Shadowrun, and I have lots of guns, so I get to shoot lots of stuff. Which makes me happy.
What about solving a problem?
I can do that with my guns too.
So I think this is a very interesting little quiz. I really, sometimes some things really I really like this idea, even though, like Jolene said, everything's important, right, to every player. All these All these things fit a player no matter what. You like getting together, obviously, seeing your friends and experiencing things together. Empowering. You like playing things that you don't normally... You can't play. You can't shoot fireballs out.
I love to play a sorceress myself.
Problem solving. I think...
I also like problem solving games.
And
mysteries where you're trying to figure out what's going on.
Me, not so much. So that would probably be the lower one on my list because, for example, because Jolene's read so many mystery novels, like I hate when we watch a mystery TV show, like an English mystery. 5 minutes, she knows who the murderer is.
Not for the English ones. It's the American ones.
Oh, is it the American ones?
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes, she knows what's going on. Goes, oh, yeah.
I try not to tell him.
Yeah, but now she does. But for a while there, she was like, I'm like, what? Where? What? And then she'd tell me exactly what the clues were. I'm like, no. And then at the very end, God damn it, you're right. So she's trained me to be a little bit better, to look for clues and stuff. So I'm a little bit more better at problem solving than I used to be. But that's probably the fourth one on my list if I was to rank them, And I do like experiencing what other GMs come up with. Because, like, I'm a GM most of the time. A lot of the time, not most of the time. A lot of the time I'm a GM. And I like to experience what other people think. What other GMs come up with. That's pretty neat to me. I really like this list. I think
he decided to rank it, I guess.
I ranked them, yes. In order of importance. But I think everybody has different things that you like, why you play role-playing games. There's a lot of things, different reasons.
But I think the most important one is everybody likes to have fun.
Yes. Well, that's why we play.
Yes.
It's called play, not called
work.
Drudgery. Let's drudgery today. Oh, yes, let's drudgery today.
So maybe you can figure out what your players are, what they like or not. Or you can figure out things you do or don't do and why.
And then as a GM, like I said, it could be an important tool. Or just look at this and say, oh, yeah, if we hadn't thought about it, which I obviously had not thought of it this way. I'm like, okay, so I put in a little bit of something to experience, problem solving, and empowering. I know that everybody likes all those things. And, of course, socialization because you're all together anyway, no matter what. I think it's pretty neat. I'm glad I came across this.
There you go. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene.
And you have a good day.